Welcome to the Movie Spoiler Club, the channel where you can watch movie, television, and streaming series within minutes. Today we're going to spoil the movie Iron Man 3, 2013. The movie starts with Tony Stark recalling an event that happened in 1999 in Bern, Switzerland, the exact same technology conference that Ho Yinsen claimed to have met Tony in the first Iron Man movie. There, Stark is drunk and hanging out with a female botanical scientist named Maya Hansen after giving a speech at the conference. When the two get to an elevator to leave the building, a crippled scientist named Aldrich Killian introduces himself to Stark and asks him to look at his new idea of advanced idea mechanics known as AIM. When the elevator reaches the destination, Stark secretly tells Killian that he's interested in working with him and tells Killian to meet him on the rooftop. But instead, Stark goes with Maya to see her research, leaving Killian waiting for him on the roof. Maya has been researching a biological experiment on plants that will change their DNA and has the power of curing diseases, and she's interested in bringing it to the next levels in the future, into the human application. Cut back to the present time. We see Tony Stark working restlessly in his workshop. He has made several Iron Man suits and now working on his latest work, Mark 42. After doing a test, Stark turns on the TV and sees the news about a new terrorist who calls himself the Mandarin, who claims the responsibility for the bombings directed on U.S. military stations, killing women and children, hijacking American airwaves. The only response that the government has come up with is the War Machine suit, which we met in the second Iron Man, now changed its name as Iron Patriot. Next scene, we see Tony with Rhodes in a diner, and Tony asks him about the Mandarin. Rhodes says that although people know about only 3 bombing incidents, there's been 9 bombings, and that they haven't been able to find the Mandarin yet. As they speak, 2 kids come to them and they ask for Tony's autograph. One kid asks Tony about how he managed to survive the wormhole in New York, causing Tony to freak out. He leaves the place and flees away in his suit, while Jarvis analyzes and tells that what Tony just suffered was an anxiety attack. Meanwhile, at Stark Industries, Happy has been promoted to the head of security, and we see him escorting Pepper to an appointment. Who's been waiting to meet her is Aldrich Killian, with whom Pepper had worked with years ago and whom Tony left on the roof at the conference 13 years ago. Now his physical disabilities are completely gone and he seemed to be all better and highly confident. He needs Stark Industries to back him up with his experiment called Extremis, which biologically harnesses the human brain and alters the human DNA. He creates a large holograph of his brain and explains to Pepper the process, but Pepper says no to him, saying that this technology can be used to transform human beings into weapons. When Pepper gets back home, she sees a giant bunny at the door, Tony's Christmas gift to Pepper. As she walks into the house, she sees Iron Man sitting on a couch. She talks with him and the suit is trying to kiss her, which she initially thought was an issue of the suit. But as she comes down to the workshop, she sees that Stark is already in there, revealing that the armor was a remote-controlled prototype. There, Tony explains to her about the memories he's having about the New York incident and how it has been preventing him from getting some sleep. That night, Tony experiences another traumatic nightmare while sleeping, causing the awakening of his Iron Man suit. It comes into the room and scares Pepper, but Stark gets up and dismantles it. Pepper is frustrated and tells Tony that she's going to sleep downstairs. The next day, Happy follows Sabin, one of Killian's men. He made a suspicion on when Killian paid the visit to Pepper the day before. Happy sees Sabin handing over a briefcase to another man named Taggart. Happy goes to interfere with the business but gets beaten up by Sabin, who seems to have monstrous energy in him. Seconds later, Taggart is overheated and he explodes, leaving Happy severely injured, but Sabin walks away harmless. That night, Stark watches the TV as the Mandarin takes responsibility for that explosion. Stark is now furious over Happy's injury. He visits Happy in the hospital, and when he leaves the premises, he's mobbed by news reporters, asking questions about the Mandarin situation. This pushes Stark to the edge. He openly threats the Mandarin with revenge, even telling his home address on TV saying he'll be ready. Stark goes home and analyzes the Chinese theater that the last explosion took place. There, he finds that Happy's lying body is pointing out to military dog tags, named Taggart. By analyzing the last events of heat explosions, Stark finds out that a remarkably similar event happened in Tennessee 4 years ago, but it predates any Mandarin attack. An ex-army soldier named Chad Davis blew himself up, taking 5 more people with him. Tony asks Jarvis if he's ever been to Tennessee, and Jarvis sets up a flight plan to Tennessee. The doorbell rings, Tony puts on the suit, and goes to look it up since he has now threatened a terrorist. It turns out to be Maya Hansen, the biological scientist Tony met 13 years ago in Switzerland. She tells Tony that she needs to talk with him, as Pepper comes down and suggests that they should leave the house since Tony has threatened their lives by giving his home address to a terrorist. While they are arguing about that, the house is attacked by 3 helicopters led by Savin from the seaside. When they are thrown away with the initial explosion, Tony commands the Iron Man suit to cover and protect Pepper, enabling Pepper and Maya to survive the attack. After that, Tony gets the suit back and destroys 2 choppers, but goes low on power and unable to get the third one. The house crumbles into the sea with him. With the last bit of power, Jarvis gets the suit to fly off, and Tony passes out. Tony awakens with the power-dropping alarm and sees that he's still on the flight but is plummeting onto the ground, not being able to do anything with the least power. He crashes into a snow forest. Jarvis opens up the suit and tells Tony that they are thousands of miles away in Tennessee, according to the flight plan he made earlier. With power dropping to 0, Jarvis shuts himself down, leaving Tony alone in the forest. Tony drags the suit to a gas station and calls Pepper from there, leaving her a message. Then he finds a seemingly empty cabin, an abandoned garage. He rests the suit inside, then starts working on repairing the suit and bringing back Jarvis. Tony's interrupted by a kid who comes to the cabin, and Tony shows and explains to the kid that he's working on fixing the suit, and that he needs the kid's help for it. Being a fan of Iron Man, the kid is fascinated by the armor and agrees to help Tony, who's now presumed to be dead to the world. On a deal, Tony gives the kid a tasering device to get rid of his bullies in exchange for helping with his work. Back at Tony's destroyed mansion, Pepper finds the voice message that Tony left her. Pepper is relieved and goes to Maya's place for better safety. On the ride, Maya reveals that she thinks that her boss Aldrich Killian may be working with Mandarin, and that's why she came to meet Tony. Teaming up with Harley, Stark investigates the remains of the suspicious suicide bombing, and he meets with Chad Davis's mother at a bar. She mistakes him for someone else she's been expecting and gives him the files which were owned by her son. Stark buckles up to ask her more questions about Chad, but gets interrupted and arrested by one of the Killian's agents, Ellen Brand. When the sheriff comes to the place to look at the chaos, she poses as Homeland Security. The sheriff is not convinced. Then she shoots him and a few others. Tony notices that she's an extremist and tries to escape, but Savin confronts and attacks him. Tony survives by blowing Brandt into an electrocuted wire, killing her using an explosion and incapacitating Savin. Killian finds Pepper at Maya's place and kidnaps her to do the extremist experiment, revealing that Maya has been cooperating with him all along. Meanwhile, Colonel Rhodes gets lured into a trap while trying to track the Mandarin's location and is attacked by an extremist, losing the custody of the Iron Patriot armor to them. The Mandarin contacts the president and explains to him that if the president doesn't call him within the next few minutes, he'll kill the CEO of a major company that's in his custody. Live on television, President immediately makes the call, but the Mandarin kills the CEO, saying that the president will be the next one. By going through the files of Davis, Stark finds that it was Aldrich Killian who's behind those extremist agents and that the whole terrorism plot is used to cover up the deaths of the extremist experiment. Now it's being recharged. Jarvis manages to locate the broadcast signal of the Mandarin, surprises Tony by telling that Mandarin's broadcasts are traced to Miami, not East Asia. Tony goes to Miami and infiltrates into the trace location, knocking the guards with some homemade weapons that he fashioned in the cabin. Inside the building, Tony learns that the Mandarin is just an act done by a stage actor named Trevor. When Tony threats him, Trevor says that Killian wanted him to be the face of terrorism of some accidental explosions. While Trevor explains to Tony, Savin comes from behind and knocks Tony down. Tony wakes up in a workshop of Maya, tied up. Maya tells him that she's been working with Killian and asks his help to perfect the stabilization of the extremist experiment. Tony rejects, saying that Maya has lost her soul, been transformed from a person that wanted to help people. Tony asks her to get him out of there, and that's when Killian walks into the room. Killian explains to Stark that Pepper has been kidnapped and being tortured under the experiment process to insert her superhuman abilities and turn her against Tony. Suddenly, Maya changes her mind and tells Killian to let Tony go, threatening to kill herself. Killian shoots her, neglecting the imperfections of the experiment that are yet to be fulfilled. Killian then goes to the chamber where they've been keeping the Iron Patriot. He takes Rhodes out of the suit and knocks him unconscious. Tony is still tied up and guarded by 2 men, but he escapes by summoning the Mark 42 suit, piece by piece, and reunites with Rhodes in the compound, who has gained his consciousness back. They see that Savin going up high in the Iron Patriot suit, and realize that he's going to take the president posing as Colonel Rhodes. Tony, now in the suit, takes Rhodes to meet Trevor and get into his speedboat since the suit has yet to regain the full power. In the boat, Tony checks the power and Jarvis says it's on 92%. Meanwhile, Savin has boarded the plane with the president, pretending to be the Iron Patriot, and he kills the Secret Service agents and captures the president. He puts the president into the Patriot suit and sends him off to the Miami port shipyard, where Killian's workshop is located. Then, Savin puts a hole in the aircraft body, letting the rest of the passengers and crew to fall out of the plane. That's when Iron Man comes into the plane, killing Savin. He jumps out of the plane and saves all the falling people by chain capturing them one by one. He drops them safely onto the water, and lands on a nearby bridge, where the suit gets hit by a truck and breaking into its components. That's when we see that Tony has only been controlling it remotely. At the shipyard, Killian intends to kill the president live on TV, so that he can conquer the country using the vice president as a puppet leader. Rhodes tracks the president to the shipyard. The two get there and Tony enables a house party protocol of Jarvis, unleashing a massive army of Iron Man armors, each one different from each other. A bullet ballet begins with explosions, and Rhodes manages to save the president. Before Tony could save Pepper on the platform, an explosion occurs underneath, causing her to fall 200 feet to apparent death. Then Killian comes to defenseless Tony to finish him off, but Tony traps him in the Mark 42 suit piece by piece and commands Jarvis to blow up the suit. Killian barely survives the explosion and confronts Tony again, but Pepper appears and finishes off the weakened Killian with her induced super abilities from the Extremis. Reunited with Pepper, Tony commands Jarvis to implement a clean slate protocol, enabling all suits to self-destruct as a sign of his intention to spend more time with Pepper. Before the final scene of the movie, we see a compile of motions of the events that happened in the aftermath. Rhodes arresting the vice president and Trevor, Pepper being cured, Tony himself undergoing surgery of removing the shrapnel from his chest, Happy waking up in the hospital, and the kid Harley finds his cabin is modified into a new lab, with a thank you note from the mechanic. We see Tony pitching his arc reactor to the sea and driving off as the movie marks the end. In the post-credit scene, it's revealed that Tony has been telling about his experiences to Dr. Bruce Banner, who just woke up from the sleep he fell into while listening to Tony's story. Movie trivia. Do you know that Robert Downey Jr. pushed to get Gwyneth Paltrow to have some action scenes? And producer Kevin Feige approved. We are bored by the damsel in distress, but sometimes we need our hero to be desperate enough in fighting for something other than just his own life. So, there is fun to be had with his Pepper in danger. Or is she the savior? Over the course of this movie gets the movie rating of 7.2 from IMDb, Tomatometer rating of 79 and audience score of 78 from Rotten Tomatoes. Thank you for watching and be sure to hit like, subscribe, share your thoughts in the comment section, and hit the notification bell for the new movie spoiler video every week.